Welcome back to another episode of the Cultivator podcast. I'm CJ.
And I'm Day, and today we're excited to have a special guest, Jeannette Mcginn. She's a director and president of the board and one of the co-founders of Newhall Fields Community Farm.
Thank you so much, CJ and Day. I'm thrilled to be here to talk about Newhall Fields.
It's such a pleasure to have you, Jeannette. Let's jump right in. What inspired the founding of Newhall Fields Community Farm?
CJ, that is a great question. I think what inspired the creation of this project really goes back to the beginning with Mayor Bonfanti. He had the forethought to purchase the property in 2007 to protect and conserve this agricultural land. And also the Spur and Newhall family, they, cared for and protected this land with an agricultural conservation restriction, which makes it possible for us to be there today growing all this amazing food. And this opened the door, 10 years later, for the group of community members to come together and work with the Parks Department to better understand how this farm could meet community needs now that it was owned and going to be operated by the city of Peabody for the benefit of the people who live here. So this prompted our group to look at this opportunity with kind of fresh eyes and from the perspective that what we learned is that Peabody is a food desert. And so lots of people were suffering from food scarcity and malnutrition. So our number one goal at Newhall Fields was to put healthy food on every table. And, how do we go about doing that? Well, we start with growing food right there out in the fields and thinking about it in terms of growing it in sync with the cycles of nature, paying attention to our soil, and, just working with nature and not against her, and engage in this practice of growing food for people with people. Sort of at this juncture of these community meetings and bringing people together to work on the farm over these past 6 years, I think if you asked other people this question about what inspired the formation of the nonprofit, I think you would get, a different answer from everyone, a different reason that they're inspired. And I think whether it's for some people, it's to free us from consuming these overly processed foods and poor diets. And for others, it's this open field of possibilities ripe for cultivation and sharing. Or it's a community hub of activity, of building relationships and creating new discoveries. For me, specifically, it was about encouraging people to come together in this wonderful open space and spend time outdoors, to grow the most amazing food for our neighbors, enjoy healthy food together, and really just dig into the soil and enjoy being out in nature. And it's about sort of creating these conditions that cultivate ecological epiphanies, that sort of aha moment when you say to yourself, this is important work, and I want to be a part of creating change in my community and making things better.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And I know a lot of people kind of feel maybe overwhelmed by what's going on in the news or in the world. And it's nice to be able to go outside and feel like a very simple thing like gardening, farming, you can make a difference. So that is wonderful. And it's become such a strong part of, the local food system and the local ecosystem.
So something that really excites me about Newhall Fields is that we're, like CJ just said, we're part of the local ecosystem. And it really is the system that goes around and around and forms this really cool little circle. Can you talk to us about like the hunger relief distribution our hunger relief distribution partners and kind of the direct to consumer initiatives that we have on the farm?
Absolutely. So, this mission of Newhall Fields came about from these community groups getting together. Sorry, I start
There's
that again.
always a
Yeah.
second. Yeah,
Yeah.
just for always a second. Fair try.
Absolutely. Our mission at New Hall Fields, uh, you know, came about because of these community gatherings of bringing people together. And one of the things that we became very aware of was the lack of access to healthy, nutritious food at an affordable price or even free, right? So it's important that people have access to the healthiest food possible to make them feel good, to help children think better in schools. And that wasn't always accessible to everyone. And so we kind of over time, have devised these distribution options of getting our food out into the community. And, it started very small with going to the pop up farmers markets. And there we learned that our seniors didn't have places to use their senior farmers market coupons, that people who had SNAP had nowhere to spend their SNAP because there weren't farms in Peabody accessible to them that accepted these benefits. So that became, in the forefront of our mind. Like, how do we enroll in these programs? How do we accept these benefits? How do we distribute this food in a way that's accessible to people? So we came up with, as of this past season, we've really has been a pivotal year and we've expanded our distribution. So we have three main distribution options. And these all happen with our partner organizations. So we work closely with hunger relief partners in our area. So Haven from Hunger in Peabody, the Salem Food Pantry, Beverly Bootstraps, Lynn Community Fridge. And deliveries to these locations happen on a weekly basis with anywhere from 50 pounds to 300 pounds of food, depending on the harvest and the season. So, and it's I know from delivering the food there to the food pantries that their clients are super excited to receive this healthy food. Um, so we also work with our partners to learn what their clients are looking for, what kind of vegetables do they prefer, and we try to grow those foods that meet that need. We're limited by the climate we're in, so that affects what we can grow. And then we have also directly from the farm to the consumer, we have three options there that people can get our healthy food, and that's through our farm share program, which is a CSA. And I think that you might have talked a lot about this with CJ in other episodes, but we have the farm share program. We also have the pop-up farm stand. At the pop-up farm stand, we partner with the Peabody Council on Aging to have their seniors come and get transportation to the farm so that they can shop at the farm stand. And then always our volunteers, our youth crew, our staff bring home healthy food on harvest days. So this has just been a big year of distributing almost 12,000 pounds of food at low or no cost to our friends and neighbors who come to the farm for this food.
That's incredible.
Yeah, being a community farm, we really value the feedback that we get from the people, either farm share customers or our hunger relief partners. So, we meet with them at the end of every season and sort of like talk about, what's the timing or what's the, what amount is good for them or what do their clients have to say. So that really informs our crop plan and our plan for the next season as well. And it just, we want to make sure what we're doing is serving the community the best that we can.
Right. One thing we learned between 2024 and 2025 was we were boxing up the food for people and they were coming to the farm and picking it up. And then to kind of improve their experience on the farm, we set it up more like a farm stand. So they would come through and they get to pick out their own tomatoes, their own cabbage head, their own peppers, and that also creates this connection, more of a connection to the farm. And we really encourage our customers to wander around the farm to experience the herb garden. And if they wanted to, hopefully this year we might incorporate sort of a pick your own flowers um, opportunity as well.
Yeah, I mean, before the farm, I can't tell you like if I participated or experienced like going to a place where I could grab a vegetable, an herb or whatever and could tell you where exactly it came from. You know, it's kind of nuts. And even when how you were just describing, Jeanette, like how our deliveries literally go from the farm to one of our hunger relief partners, like, yeah, it used to legitimately get picked from the ground, and we were on like a time schedule of like how quickly we needed to get it from the ground to the hunger relief partner before it would, not be so great anymore. I mean, since then we've gotten the Cool Bot, which really helps extend the life of it. And just in that one initiative and, fundraising, it goes to show how much like our donors supporting the mission that we do can really help us grow to reach more people, because that's infinitely expanded how our drop off process works. But yeah, that's nuts to me. I'm like, it could literally come from the ground and within hours be at a location with an end user, with a customer, right? Being able to like go take it home and cook with it or use it for whatever. It's a really beautiful process. And growing up, unless it was coming from my parents' garden and we couldn't, grow every single vegetable we wanted there, I couldn't really tell you where my stuff came from, or if it was done ethically or organically and if pesticides were being used or weren't being used. So it's really cool to know that that's happening in Peabody. Touching on the conservation protection that went on that land. I sometimes sit back and think about that, because hearing about the farm story, like we hear that a lot as volunteers, like when we're talking about the farm and how we started. But if you really sit down and think about the forethought it took for the Spurs and U-Hauls to really sit down and create such an impactful land use agreement is nuts, because, it could have been a development for something else or whatever. Like they really sat there and were like, this is what we'd like to see happen. And it's beautiful to see this come to fruition, because it's important. And we're a big part of this local ecosystem now, because we're doing so much and reaching so many people. So go them. Really, it's bananas to think about. Yeah, very cool. So I know one of our newer partners this year is going to be Chickadee. Is it Spice Co?
Chickadee Spice Co.
I'm very excited about
Yeah.
this because it's unique, it's different, and it also
Yeah.
shows that the farm is growing and we're reaching more people in a unique way. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So the herb garden rate was the very, very first section of the farm, and it still maintains like such a beautiful kind of meditative place. And it's really important for us that the herbs be included in this mission of accessibility and availability. Right. We built the herb hoop house, and this past season was our first season really engaging with that structure and having it in a place where we could dry some herbs. So this was our sort of our pilot year to dry herbs. And Chickadee Spice Co. is sort of like a side project of some friends that I have known for many years. Their names are Meg and Ian, and they started this nonprofit, I believe, during COVID, when there was a lot of, a flurry of mutual aid and a lot of community fridges popping up. So it was their idea that spices and oils and fats are essential as well as food. So they specialize in taking in like larger amounts, bulk amounts of dried herbs or spices. I believe the whole project started with like a pallet of black pepper, I want to
Wow.
say. I hope that that's true. And they package it down, they label it, they put where it's from, they put our logo on it, and then they distribute it to community fridges in the area. So I know they also work with some food pantries. They're a little more based in Boston. So I think that there is a pantry in Hyde Park or maybe Jamaica Plain that they work with. But we donated, we dried a bunch of culinary herbs specifically for them, and they packaged them down and distributed them over the winter to community fridges.
Wow, that's beautiful. I'll have to see us like spreading out there and getting our things into more
Yeah.
hands. Really, really cool. So, Jeanette, if you had to,
So I had a interesting story about that with the herbs. One of our partners, the New American Association in Lynn, we work very closely with a woman there, and she was visiting a friend in Boston and opened her cupboard and saw New Hall Fields Community Farm herbs in her
Aw.
cupboard, and she emailed me like that afternoon and said,
That's so cool.
"You're not going to believe this. Where are you guys distributing those? And how are you doing that?" And she was just super excited because
That's
she's been with us for,
crazy.
a few years, helping us out with translations and projects like that. So,
We're kind of a big deal, I tell myself that a lot. I'm like, we're kind of a big deal. We're getting out there. We're spreading our
Yeah.
wings.
and
You
the
know what I'm saying?
volunteers are just drawn to the herb garden.
Mm.
They absolutely love it. Sometimes I'm not sure why sometimes I'm not sure if they can actually touch on the reason why they're drawn to the herb garden, but I think it's aromatic, it's therapeutic, it's very calming,
Mhm.
and it's just a
Yeah.
lovely place to be. And you can accomplish a lot. And it's a long season too, from the pruning or cutting the herbs and drying them and packaging them takes the full season.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know the forethought and the long-term vision that Rebecca has had for that herb garden is just a beautiful thing.
Hmm.
It is magical out there. So, Jeanette, if you had to describe the essence of New Hall Fields in just 3 words, I know that's probably not enough words, but what would they be?
That is a tough question, Day. There are so many words that describe the importance of the farm. One of the things I was thinking about was that at the end of the workday, we gather together with our volunteers and talk about the work that we've done that day. And everybody shares one word on how they're feeling. And in the moments like that, I hear words, in addition to the honesty of tired, hungry, dirty, we also hear content, comfortable, happy, inspired, educated. And in addition, when I think about the 3 pillars of our work, which are, sound ecological farming practices, distribution of healthy, nutrient dense food, and fostering community engagement, there are some common threads running through these pillars of our work. And so my 3 words would be people coming together. This work would not happen without our dedicated staff, volunteers, board, and community partners, organizations, businesses, and municipalities and funders that we work with. So many hands make light work, and there is most certainly strength in numbers. So people are essential to the farm. And the second word is opportunity. We create this opportunity to make a difference, to have an impact, to improve people's lives, the opportunity to grow and learn and care for one another, and the opportunity to make new discoveries daily. I'm always learning something new on the farm, and the opportunity to grow more food for our community. So that's my second word would be opportunity. And the third word to describe the essence of the farm is hope. Hope that comes from a collaborative, supportive effort to create change. We believe a better food system is possible.
You're doing so good. And that last word is a big deal.
Yeah.
That last word is a very big deal. Because honestly, some seasons I felt like we were just on a hope and a prayer. In the beginning.
There's definitely a lot of hope
on that farm.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of hope and a prayer,
Yeah.
because when you dive into something, that you're learning about as you go along, the formation of a nonprofit,
Yep.
the farming aspect of it, you have no tools, no
Literally,
equipment,
no tools.
no plants, no seeds, and
Yeah.
you decide you're going to start a farm.
Yeah. Yeah.
On a hope and a prayer. So, but anyway, and over time, I feel that this farm has become a part of the larger ecosystem that supports food, farming, environmental justice, and social justice. And we're small, but we're
We're
mighty, and
mighty.
we're part of a hyper local solution, um, making a difference right here in our community, in our corner of the world. So, yeah, there's
Those
hope.
a lot of hope.
A
And
lot
those
of hope.
3 words that you decided to choose, leading with people, as a volunteer, I feel that because that's why I kept coming back because I could tell in all the rooms from the room in the library to the room at, at breaking grounds to now we've got kind of a room at the farm that our farm leaders really do put people first. At the beginning of most of all of our initiatives, honestly. So I know that's high up on your list, and as a volunteer, we're feeling that. And yeah, we're really lucky to have the leadership team that we have on the farm. The ship is not easy to be steered from things that I've seen on the peripheral, but somehow we're still here, still killing it, still making moves. And it really is because of the people that are here and honestly, a lot of the people at the top, which is really exciting I like saying that because it's true. So yeah, Jeannette, thank you so much for being on this episode and helping us highlight some of the people, organizations, staff members, teams that like are making this and this project come to fruition, be like a real thing. It really was a project before, and now it's a real farm. We're a real farm, real working farm, part of the ecosystem, and growing food and getting it out there to our community.
Of course, it's just great to be here with both of you, sharing the farm with our listeners. And, before we close, I just want to give a quick shout out to some of our partners. On the city level, we've been working really closely with community development and the health department, and of course, Tilly's Farm. And these people help make this work possible. And our youth partners, Peabody High, Salem High, Essex Tech, Bishop Fenwick. Our youth are really important to our work at the farm, and we love having them come out on Saturdays and working with us for the summer. And of course, we have our scout groups and school groups that come out, and Northeast Arc has been a dedicated partner. Since before we even formed the nonprofit, they were working with us, digging out the herb garden, and have been with us all 6 years. So, and lastly, I'd like to thank the North Shore Food and Farm Coalition, which is a recent group that formed in serving 5 communities on the North Shore. And I'd just like to thank them for their work raising awareness about local food and growing spaces. And it's a real partnership. And lastly, I'll give a shout out to our small local farmers out there doing the hard work of growing food. It's truly a collaborative effort to feed a community. And and I don't want to forget our funders, of course.
Hey.
Our funders, grants and foundations are, where we're receiving most of our support. And this year we're having a big initiative to reach out to more individual donors. So if you're out there and listening and love what you hear, feel free to visit our website.
Jeannette, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your passion for the farm. And I know that I'm looking forward to this coming season and seeing what happens and how much we can grow and just, we work so closely together, and it's just such a pleasure.
It's great. Thank you, CJ and Day. It's been a pleasure chatting with you both, and I hope our listeners will be inspired to come join us on the farm and dig in. And if you're listening, please share this podcast with your friends and coworkers. We're always looking for additional community partners and volunteers to share this experience.
You heard that, guys. That was a direct invitation to come onto the farm from our director and president of our board. Thank you so much, Jeannette, for joining us. And thank you, listeners. Be sure to check out our show notes. We're going to have a link to our websites, different ways to connect with our mission. So whether you want to connect with us on or off the farm, we have different ways that you can do that. Thanks.
Until next time.
Thank you.